Now we are going to discuss about the interview questions which are mostly asked by an any organization when you are giving an interview for packaging. So this QA and the practice test and interview question which is will be covered for all the level. So in the beginning I will first discuss about the normal questions which is mainly asked when are you are at your experience of 2 to 3 years. Then it will also have a scenario based questions which is mostly asked when you are at an experience of 6 to 7 years. First is what is application repackaging? First of all, to make it clear, we call it as application packaging. But what we are doing is not application packaging. We are doing a repackaging. The application packaging is the developer who is creating that source file or who is creating that binaries. So when I say that who is creating that source file or binaries, this means that the person or the developer who has created an exe or who has created an MSI. What we are doing is just that we are customizing either an MSI to create a mirror image which is transformed, or we are installing an application silently so that the user will not come to know that the application is getting installed. So it is complete silent, or we can say that we are customizing it. So application repackaging is the process of capturing the changes made by an installation program package, and it is customized to support company standards and distribution method. It is not necessary to do setup capture to call it repackaging. Even creating must files or is files can be called an application repackaging. So any customization which we are doing to either exe, like any customization means installing the silent installation of an exe, or we are changing the registry, we are changing the registry values, we are disabling the ARP entries, we are removing the shortcut, we are creating an MSI from the loose files, or we are creating the transforms from an MSI. Whatever the little bit customization also we are doing is known as application repackaging. What are the steps of repackaging? The steps of the repackaging, first of all, is review the packaging requirements, which is user requirement review. First of all, when the vendor is giving any request, any application, so first of all you have to review the requirement. So when we say to review the requirement, we have to go through the PRF, which is the PIF, which is the package request form, or we can say that package information file. We have to go through it. We have to look upon the requirement, what user has told us to customize, what are the source binaries provided by the vendor package, which is the tech review. Analyze the vendor package in the sense that what the binary and setup file is provided by the vendor. We have to technical review it. We have to manually install and see whether that is working as expected or not. Repackage the application, which is setup capture. If there are loose files, or if an application is exe which cannot be installed silently, or which is not extracting an MSI, then in that case we have to capture it. So that is the setup capture. Customizing the package. So once the package is there, we have to create a script, because everything you cannot do it through the single line. We have to create a script to call that MSI, or to call that exe, or to do any thing in the script. It can be either creating either copying a file or removing a file, importing the script, or setting the registry key, or disabling the ARP entries. So for that is scripting is required. Then test the package. So once the package is done with the script, we have to test the package manually to verify whether the application is working as expected or not. And then we have to send it for UAT, which is user acceptance testing. Release the package to end users. So once that is done, create a deployment and test the deployment through give the package to the end users so that they can test the application. Why repackaging is required and what are the problems in legacy installation? Most common for repackaging are as follows, which is customized installation. So we can customize the installation or uninstallation. Like when we are installing any application, we have to give next. We have to select few options. We have to disable few options. We have to enable. We have to enable the, if license agreement is there, removal of desktop shortcut is there, then we have to untick it. But why to do so many things when we have a easier way by doing it, by customizing it? Because n number of users will be using the application and every users have to perform the same thing if they are doing it manually. That's why we are customizing it, and every user is does not have a knowledge that how applications are getting installed and what options they have to select. So creating an application and providing it to the all users globally become very useful. Reduce support cost. Thus, as I said, by in multiple users installing it and using an option rather than creating an application and giving it to globally to all users at one go, reduce the support costs. Self repair. The application will be repaired if the application's particular any file or anything is deleted by mistake, then just launching a shortcut, if the shortcut is advertised, then the application can be self repaired. Source resiliency. The source is resilient and thus it becomes easier for a user to install and uninstall or repair the application. Unattended install. User do not have to attend the installation. User does not have to click in all the options and then do the installation. Rather it at one go, you can install, you can uninstall, you can repair. What are the problems with the legacy installation? First of all, we have to understand what is the legacy installation. Legacy installation means installing an exe. So when we are installing an exe application and when we have an msi, so msi has lot of advantage if compared with the legacy installation which is exe. We have many disadvantages when we are installing an exe application. So in many project it is sometimes they say that we don't want an exe application, rather than we want msi. So what, even if you are getting an exe, convert it to msi because it becomes easier to handle an msi application. It first of all, the problem is the high support cost. High support cost in the sense that when we are installing exe application, it doesn't have an option of rollback. So if in the by mistake your system got rebooted or power went off and the system is not working due to any reasons, then till the step you have done, the installation will be done and you wouldn't be able to delete it. It will not roll back in the sense it will not go back to the first stage. Whereas in msi, the application gets rollback if it is not installing properly, or if something happened, it will roll back and it will delete whatever it has installed. But that option is not there in exe. Thus it also becomes fragile installs and uninstall. It becomes very fragile to install and uninstall such application, and it is difficult and labor intensive to deploy. We don't know that when we are installing any application, we don't know that that application is installing in which directory. Maybe it is installing in one particular directory, but maybe it is copying many files in other directory also, which we are not aware of. So that's why it becomes very difficult and labor intensive to deploy. Then the question 4, why multiple instances of MSIExec are running during the installation? So when we are installing any MSI application, which we can say that Windows installer, then we can see in the task manager that there will be multiple MSIExec are running. So why that is running? So Windows installer basically use a client server model for performing the installation. So when we say that a client server model, so this means that one exec MSI exec will be running for client, the other will be running for the server. So additionally, for security reason, Windows installer hosts DLL and script custom action in a sandbox process. Depending on how the install was initiated, one of the MSI process can be the client process, which is the current user. Another MSIExec process is Windows installer, which is the service system. They are MSI server, client, and services. And the fourth one will be seen if an app MSI has a custom action. And when a custom action is getting installed, we will have the four instance of the MSIExec. So we can say why multiple, as it is a client server model. One will be for server, one will be for client, the third will be for the services, and fourth will be for the custom action. How to install exe file silently? So if an exe, if a vendor has provided an exe and we have to install that exe silently, then how we are going to search that what are the silent parameters? So we will use in the cmd, we will copy that exe path of that exe file, and then we will give /help. If the /help is working, it will prompt with the silent parameter. If it doesn't work, we can also use /?mark -help -?. So sometimes it may work, sometimes it may not work. It may display and sometimes it will not display, so depending upon how the exe is packaged by the developer, in that way it will display. Second is by using hit and trial method. So the second thing is, if we are not getting the silent parameter, what we are going to do? So there are few hit and trial methods which we can try, which we can see whether that is working or not. So it is /s /silent /quiet /very silent -s -silent -quiet -very silent -s -silent -quiet -very silent. And then we can try the same thing with the capital letters. So with the capital letters means all whatever the parameters which we have already discussed, it should be in the uppercase letter. What are the benefits of Windows installer? As we have discussed the disadvantage of exe, so I said that if we have an MSI, we have many advantages. If we have an exe, we have many disadvantage. So first of all is advertising. It can be advertised very easily. Installation on demand, as per the user's demand, it can be present to the users without any issues. To the multiple users, it can be present. Repair self healing. This property is only there for MSI. We cannot repair or self heal an exe application. So if any application file is removed by mistake, then if it has a shortcut which is an advertised shortcut, or any advertising property, then we can self heal that application, and that the missing file will automatically come if we double click on the shortcut. Rollback, which is the transactional operation. Rollback becomes very important because when we are installing any application and by mistake in the middle, either the network connectivity is gone or the system is rebooted, so MSI will have a config.msi folder saved in the folder, and with that thing it will do the clean uninstallation. So it will not have the corrupted data. The resources can be shared by creating an MSM, which is the merge module we can share with the multiple MSI. Installation in lockdown environments. Even if the environment is locked down, we can enable the installation without any issue. What is MSI? MSI is a Microsoft Windows installer, which is an installation in the form of a single line. It is actually a database that contains several tables, which is 80 plus. Each of this table contains instructions and setup information. So MSI is the Microsoft Windows installer, which help us to enable disable the installation. It provides a standard method for customizing, for developing, installing, uninstalling, repair and remove, reinstall, support. So MSI has many advantages. It helps us is in installation with providing the application to the large number. Every MSI has its own product code, and the product code should not be changed by us, by the packager. Then the structure of MSI. The structure of MSI is the products, and then the products, for an example, we are taking as an Microsoft Office application. Then it will have a features which can be, we can say that for Microsoft Office we have Excel, we have Visio, we have PowerPoint, we have WinWord, we have OneNote. So these all are the features, and then components which will have an application can have n number of components, and then the components can have n number of files and registry. So we can say that products is the collection of features, or an application features is the collection of components, which is like Excel project, and then at the end components, which is the collection of files and registry. So if any application which we are installing can have n numbers of files and n numbers of registries. What is the difference between self-healing and repair? Self-healing and repair are two different concepts in Windows installer, which many times are considered that it is the same and there is no difference. But no, self-healing and repair are two different concepts. So first of all, we will discuss what is self-healing. Self-healing is only triggered by advertising shortcut or other advertising information in the package, which eventually repairs the application. When the application is launched by the advertised shortcut, it checks for the all key paths of the current feature. If any of the key path is missing, it will launch repair. So first of all, self-healing is done only for the advertised shortcut. The self-healing will not work for non-advertised shortcut. Any application, any MSI application which has a advertised shortcuts or any advertised information in the package, that only we can repair it. We cannot repair any other application. And how it is going to repair? When an application is launched, it will check for the key path of the current feature, and if any of the key path is missing, it will launch repair. We have to also note down that there will be a multiple feature. It says that it checks for the current key path of the current feature, not for multiple features. So if there are multiple features, then it will not check the missing key paths of the other features, but it will only check the feature of which the advertised shortcut is launched. Only for that one it will search and it will repair. It will only repair the shortcut for the current for the key path of the current feature, not for the multiple features. Then the repair of an MSI. Repair can be done in multiple ways. It can be either done in repair button in add remove programs, which we can say that in the control panel. The second thing is giving the command line MSIExec/f with other options. We have many other options like Fomios, and then with the MSI name we can repair it. Then self heal by advertised shortcut or other advertising information, which we discussed now. And the third is active setup. Through active setup also we can repair it by creating a hive which is present in HKCU. By creating it in HKLM also we can repair it. What are shortcuts and what are shortcut types? Shortcuts are entry point to the application installed on the system, which normally points to a file. So shortcuts are entry point for any application. If we click on it, it will launch the application. So it is the entry point for entering any application inside. So it are of two types, advertise and non-advertise. Advertise is the file should be installed by the application. It should be a key path of a component. No other file can be designated as the key member in that component. So any advertised shortcut should be installed directly by an application, which we can say automatically by an application, and it should have a key path of a component.
No other file can be designated as the key member in that component. Only it will have a key path of the component and it should be unique. Non-advertised file that do not need to be part of the installation. It is also called a command line shortcuts. This means that it is not part of the installation, and the and it will be a command line shortcuts. How to give permission for files, folders, and registry keys through VB script, and what is the syntax. We can give permission for file and folders through VB script by using the cackles and xcackles command. So what is cackles and xcackle commands? So cackles should only run on NTFS partitions. Cackles is known as change access control list. So we have to give command cackles and the name of the file and the type of the permission, like backslash t. T is the change ACL of the specified files in the current directory and subdirectory. So it will change the specified files in the directory and current directory. E is for edit ACL instead of replacing it. Either to replace it, it will edit it. C is to continue, ignore, access denied errors. G is user permission, where user access rights granted can be either a read, change, or full control. R is the access to be revoked, specified user access right. P user is perm replace specified user rights. Permission can be an RCF. None, read, change, full control. Slash D is user denies specified user access, which means how is the syntax. Cackles file name backslash t backslash e backslash c backslash g user perm backslash r for read user backslash p user backslash d user. For an example, cackles c myfile.txt location of that file slash e and g to edit and to give permission to the user for read write change, and the username is f means the full control we are giving it. What are merge module? Merge module, we can also say it as .msm. Merge module is a mechanism in a Windows installer that allow companies to share uh, to pre-package and share standard component definitions. Merge modules are used to deliver shared code, files, folders, resources, registry entries, and setup logics to application as a single compound file. So rather than creating a multiple files, we will create a one component which will have a collection of all the files, folders, resources, everything it will have, and that can be shared to the multiple application rather than creating it again and giving more effort and time. Extension of Verge module is .msm, stored on computer, c C drive, Vice, SharePoint, merge module. MSM is snapshot of a particular version of a component. The we can say that the MSM is basically a screenshot of the another version of component. So we can say a mirror image of another component which will have everything inside it. What are the background mechanism of merge module and how it works? Merge module, if there are several applications that require a specifically configured component, it would be possible to create a merge module that installs and configure that component. That merge module could then be added to the installation package of each product that require that particular component. This saves the effort of having to individually add the necessary file registry entries and other components to every installation. It also saves times if updates are needed, and instead of updating the application for all installation for all 5 applications, only the merge module is updated and the installation only needs to be rebuilt. This means that when we are installing any application, we have to create a specifically configured component, and that shared component can be shared with the other files, which will also save the effort. And instead of updating the whole application, we can just add that merge module, which will save our time also, and it don't have to be needs to be rebuilt rather than just adding it.
So that is what is merge module. What are the merge module tables? It is module signature, module components, module dependency, module exclusion, module ignore, module substitution, module admin UI sequence, module admin execute sequence, module configuration, module advertise UI sequence, module advertise execute sequence, module install UI sequence, module install execute sequence. So these are the few merge module tables. What is launch condition? Launch condition is to check the system requirements on the destination computer. Launch condition table is used by the launch condition action. So when we install any application, when we open the install shell, in the beginning, the general information tab, our few launch conditions will be predefined. So if we delete that, it will not check the launch condition. But if we don't delete it, it will check the launch condition. The launch condition can be anything like particular MS Net firmware should be installed with this version. If that is not installed, it will not allow to install that MSI. So that's why it is saying that it will check the system requirement on the destination computer for whatever the condition which is specified for that MSI application. And the launch condition table for which we can use it directly also is there in install shell launch condition table. What is wrapper MSI? When an executable installer is wrapped within an MSI, then
That MSI is called wrapper MSI. So an MSI will be there, and in that MSI exe will be also present. So when an executable installer is wrapped within an MSI, or we can say both are wrapped together, then that MSI is called wrapper MSI. What is chain installation MSI? Chain installation MSI allows to install multiple packages through a single install process. Only MSI packages can be included in a chain installation. So there will be n number of MSI, and that will be getting installed through a single install process. So that is what is called as chain installation. Chain installation can run only on system which have Windows installer 4.5 or higher. What is the difference between deferred in system context and deferred in user context? In the custom action which installs or modify a file under the install directory, or the installation should be run in deferred in user context. In the custom action which installs or modify the system directly should be run in deferred execution in system context. So if it is running directly, this means that it is getting installed in system context, and if it is modifying a file under the install directory location, then it is deferred in user context. Question number 19. How many transforms can be created for one vendor MSI? There can be n number of transforms. So there is no restriction on the number of transforms which can be created for one vendor MSI. It can be multiple, and it should be enclosed with the semicolon. What is the use of MSI assembly tables? It is used for the registration of .NET assembly files. So the registration of the .NET assembly files, we use the MSI assembly tables. What are the other tools which are used during the testing and finding, solving the issues in the application packaging? So when we're doing an application, in that case, we may need few tools which is freely available in over the web, and that tool can be used if we want to compare two files, or if we want to check how many registries are getting installed, how many files are getting installed, what are the process which are running, what are the icon which is it is extracting, we can take a picture. So there are many such tools. So few tools are csdiff, filemon for monitoring the file, icon extraction and icon builder to build an icon and extract it, install right to compare the files, picture taker to take the picture, process explorer to check the process running, process mon, process monitoring to monitor the process, reg extractor, this means to extract the registry, regmon to monitor the registry, vi log util for logging the Windows utility, Windows install master, it is also one of the tool to compare the files and to check. Vicecom reg, to I think check the registry. What are the phases of MSI installation? Question number 22. So though there are three phases of the MSI installation, first is acquisition, execution, and rollback. Acquisition is the installer which installs the features and then progresses through the action specified in a sequence table of the installation database. This action query the installation database and generate a script then that gives a step by step acquisition is done. It will go for a execution which install passes the information to process with elevated privileges and run the script. Rollback, if an installation is unsuccessful, the installer restores the original state of the computer. It generates the rollback script. Simultaneously, file it deletes during the installation. These files are kept in hidden system directory. Once installation is completed, the rollback script and the saved files are deleted. Thus, it will delete the uninstallation and it will completely remove the application if it is uninstalled and it is not successful. So it will completely clean it. So this is the phases of MSI installation. Question number 23. What is config.msi folder? Config.msi folder. Rollback script files are stored in the config.msi location. After completion of installation, this folder gets automatically deleted. So the config.msi process is a hidden folder within the root drive of Windows operating system, and it is usually located within the C drive. It is normally used by the Windows installer during the installation of the software. Usually it saves files that contains the extension of RBS or RBF. RBS files are there used by the installer in order to installation. If the installation fails, then it will be deleting the folder. It will be automatically deleting the content also, and everything whichever is there it will be getting stored there. The config.msi folder on the disk where it contains no visible window and there is not any details. This process is considered to be obscure, and though it risk but precaution should be watched out for it. Essentially, the config file MSI folder back contain backups of files that are being installed or updated during a program installation. Upon a successful completion, this folder and files are deleted automatically. However, sometimes the installer program fails to remove these files. In this case, we may safely delete the config.msi folder and files from our hard drive. Once we have deleted it, we have to access the config.msi folder and then we have to give a reboot, and then we can try to download Windows updates. If they still fail to install, continue with new with the other step, which is to how to show the hidden files and folders. We have to click on the computer, go to the tools and folder options, and under the view tab we have to first hidden files and folder section will be there. We have to select that option and click on OK. Then the in the C drive we have to look for the msconfig.msi folder. It will be there with a faded color, and then we have to right click and we can delete the config.msi folder. What is a permanent component? A permanent component, if we set the component as permanent, then none of that component are removed from the target. When we run install the component features, this means that the component attribute contains the binary mid mask value of 16 or MSI attributes component MSI components attribute permanent. Basically, if you want any application to application is getting basically when an application is getting installed, and if we want that uh, after uninstallation few data should be present. Few data means we want a few file or folders. In that case, if we keep that component as permanent, then even though we do the clean uninstallation, that will be still present. So if the permanent if the component is not marked as permanent and it is marked as no, this means that everything will be properly deleted. How to repackage AppV packaging format. AppV makes application available to end users computer without having to install directly on those computers. So the application will not be available in user's machine, but still user will be able to use the AppV application. It is because the application will be placed in the server, and from the server it will be streamed on the client machine. Just that the user's machine should have the AppV client enabled, and thus the user will be able to use the application same as the physical application. User will not come to know also that the application is not installed on their machine. What are the kinds of sequencing, types of sequencing? There are two types of sequencing. One is MNT sequencing, which is called a mount sequencing, and the other is VFS sequencing, which is called as a virtual file sequencing. Can host files be sequenced? This means that if the application is having the host files, can that application be sequenced? Then an answer for this question is no. Sequencing a host file is not a best practice. We should not sequence. Why application is launched more than once while sequencing is, the answer for this is to capture all the user profile setting and application configurations perfectly. Some application like Adobe Reader needs to be launched multiple times to capture all the settings it do. So why we launch multiple times? So that it can capture everything. It can capture the user profile setting, configurations, file, folders, registry. So that's why we launch it multiple times. What are the protocol support for streaming an AVI package? It is HTTP, HTTPS, file, RTSP, RTSPS. Question number 30. Can all types of services be sequenced? Answer is no. All the services cannot be sequenced. For an example, services that needs to start during the boot process, it cannot be sequenced. What is keypath? Keypath is having the information. It stores the information about the Windows OS and hardware. We can also say that a keypath is a resource in the component which is used to identify whether the component is installed or not. Question number 32. Why does the package go for self-healing first time the user launches the application? If the package is containing some HKCU entries, then the package will always go for self-healing for the first time. This happens because the HKCU keys are only installed for the current user present while installing the package, not for all the users, as it is the property of the HKCU. So if other users log in there is a mismatch between the current system state and the value specified in the MSI package. For example, a key file is missing, then the related feature is reinstalled. This is called the self-healing. So this means that whenever we are installing such applications which has user related data, or which we can say that which has a user specific registry in HKCU, then if the other user will log in, they will not have that data because it is related to the user specific. So in that case, with the active setup we can implement that the HKCU will get copied to HKLM. So how it is being done? It is done by the process of repair or self healing. That's why when the user launches the application for the first time, and if the active setup is implemented, then the application will go for self healing. And this is how the application will get repair, and the data from HKCU, the registry data from HKCU will get copied to the HKLM. And thus when the user will log in to the same time, to the another time, user will be able to see the application just like the normal user who has installed this application. This is the concept of active setup, and thus active setup is required if the application is not advertised, or application is having a user related profile, or if the application has an HKCU hive. Question number 33. How will you come to know that a specific component of a package is installed on a machine or not without checking install files or registry which it was supposed to install? So, the simple thing for this is we have to check the install verbose log. So, when we are creating an MSI application with the help of L star V, which is verbose logging, we create a log files. So once we can create the log files to the whatever the folder we want it. So with the help of that verbose log, we will open and we will see if the component is installed. We'll come to see that what is the component GUID for that one, and the details will be there. With the help of that, we'll come to know that which component is getting installed rather than we have to see the files and registries. The other way is that the registry hive, we can go to the registry hive and we can find out the list of the components installed. So if it is a machine one, so we have to go to HK local machine, software, Microsoft, Windows, current version, installer, user data, and this S1518, there will be many SID. So with this one we have to go to the components, and therein we can see the components installed for that particular application. Or we can also check in SKCR installer components. Question number 34. Why same resource cannot be shared between two components? What will be the issue? It is illegal if we say that the same resource is part of more than one component, since this would break the reference mechanism, the reference count mechanism. Let's illustrate this with an example where the installation part works well, but what happens when we uninstall the feature 2? So we have defined here two features, which is feature 1 and feature 2. Feature 1 and feature 2 component ID will have two values, 1000 and 2000, but the resource will be same, file1.txt, and for another feature 2 also it will be file1.txt. The reference count mechanism will be 1 for both feature 1 and feature 2. So the installation part works well, but what happens when we uninstall feature 2? If by chance we are uninstalling feature 2, then the component ID will be also will be deleted, and it gets a reference count of 0. So from 1 it will become 0, wherein what MSI will do, MSI will delete all the resources which is belonging to that component. So if the resource is deleted for feature 2, obviously the resource for feature 1 will be also deleted, because it is having both are having the same txt. So as the reference count will is getting decreased, the MSI will delete the resources, and thus the resources are same for both the feature 1 and feature 2, and thus the components will get affected. That's the reason that we should not have the same resource between two components. If the resource is different for both the components, even if it is getting deleted, it will not have a effect, because even if the ref count will be decreased, MSI will delete the resource, and the resource name will be different, so it will not be affected. But here the same resource is shared between both the feature and both the component ID, and that's why it should not be done. Question number 35. When I try to run the MSI on a Windows 7 install, or we can say Windows 8 also, or Windows 10 also, we are getting the installation cannot continue because the system reboot is pending. How can I resolve this issue? So what we have to do, we have to open the MSI install shield. We have to click general information, and there we will have a install condition, which is also called as launch condition. We have to click on the screen and we have to delete that. We will see that there will be few launch conditions defined. So for the reboot, it is MSI system reboot pending, so we have to remove that. So if we click on the plus sign, it will show all the launch condition. So we have to click that particular launch condition which we have to delete, and we have to click on the cross sign, and it will delete it. So in this way we can help the application not to get rebooted. Question number 36. How to skip set of components from getting installed in a package? we can do one thing: either we can delete those components or we can remove the GUID of those components. In this way we can skip the set of components. What is group policy and how to set it? Administrators use group policy to define options for managing configuration of servers, desktops, and groups of users. It is used to set policy across a given site, domain, or range of organizational units. Use gpad edit.msc in the run command to set a policy. So we can open the gpad.msc, and accordingly we can configure the servers, we can manage it, we can manage the desktop, we can manage the group of users, and we can set the policy as per the domain or organizational units or a site. What is active directory? Active directory: deploying applications through the active directory is done through the use of group policies, and therefore applications are deployed either on a per user basis or on a computer computer basis. Active Directory is a Microsoft proprietary directory service. It runs on Windows Server and enables administrators to manage the permissions and access to networks resources. Active Directory stores data as objects. An object, which is a single element such as a user, group, application, or device, such as a printer. We are using Active Directory for packaging, basically to deploy an application on a per user basis or on a per computer basis. What if the shortcut is not advertised? Will it launch? Depending upon the shortcut, we will see whether it will launch or not. Basically, if the shortcut is not advertised, if the any file is deleted, then it will not launch. If the shortcut is advertised and the target path is set, then the shortcut will advertise. So answer for this one will be either no or yes, depending upon the situation or depending upon how that shortcut is defined. How do I install only the features I want? Let's consider we have a application, and in that application we only want to install a feature. Then how we can do it? The add local, add source, and advertise properties can be used to install only a certain number of known features. The following command line script would be used to install the sports and news features of the example MSI package locally on the machine. For an example, we want to install only sports and news, so we will give MSIExec/i example.msi, whatever the path of the MSI, and we can give add local is equal to sports and news and then the silent parameter. The following command line script would advertise the sports feature and install the news feature to run from source. So we have to install the news feature from the source, and one feature is just we have to advertise. So in that case we will give MSIExec/i example dot msi advertise is equal to sports and add source is equal to news slash qb. Another important thing which we have to remember for the feature, that it is case sensitive and should be always in uppercase. What is set driven property and what are its value, and at what time we have to make use of that? If your setup.exe is installed shell created and you are able to extract MSI out of it, and this MSI does not install and gives an error like you need to run this application from setup.exe. So we have an exe, and exe is also extracting an MSI, but when you are trying to install that MSI alone, you are unable to do it, which says that you have to install that MSI with that exe only. In that case we have to give this command is set ribbon is equal to 1. So then if we add this following public property on the command line is setup driven is equal to 1 in property of the MSI either through MS2 or in the command line, then we will be able to run the MSI without any issues and without setup.exe. Otherwise it will say that without that exe it will not run. What is supersedence in SCCM? Application management in configuration manager lets us upgrade or replace existing applications by using a supersedence relationship. This means that in configuration manager we can upgrade or we can replace the existing applications by using a supersedence relationship, and we can upgrade the application. We can move to the updated level. When we supersede an application, we have to specify a new deployment type to replace the deployment type of the superseded application. How to troubleshoot applications failing to stream from an AppV management server. First of all, we have to review the sft log.txt file on the AppV client. So on the AppV client, we have to review the sft log.txt file, and this log may include additional information that was not included in the error message. The default location of the sft log.txt is system drive, program data, Microsoft application virtualization client. So we have to go through this location, and we have to open the sft-log.txt, and we'll come to know why it was not streaming. The second is we have to review the application OST file on the AppV management server. So this, the first step will be done on the client. The second step will be done on the server. So on the AppV management server, we have to open the application OST file and scroll to the following line. We have to see this. Second thing is to verify the protocol server name, port, and path of the SFT file are correct or not. Default ports for each protocol type is RTSP is 554, RTSPS is 322, HTTP is 80, HTTPS is 443. See if changes were made to the application OST file. We have to save the changes and then open the application virtualization client MMC snapping on the AppV client, and we have to refresh the publishing server. D launch the application on the AppV client to see if the error continues to occur. So on the AppV client, we have to launch and see if the error is resolved or not. 3. Delete the application from the cache on the AppV client. So we have to delete the application from the cache of the AppV client. On the AppV client, open the application virtualization client slapping that's located under administrative tool. Then we have to click the application. After the right clicking the application that is failing to stream, we have to delete it. After deleting, we have to click yes, and we have to receive the confirmation dialog box. Once the application is deleted, we have to replace the publishing server to republish the application. Question number 44. What do I do when launching an application triggers repeating endless Windows installer self repair? So this means that an application is going for a again and again it is going for a self healing. So in that case, we have to check the event viewer and see which component GUID is triggering that self heal. We have to check that component through GUID and see what is there in that component. Apparently that component's keypath is missing every time while launching advertised shortcut. So we have to fix the component, or we have to change the shortcut to non-advertised. So it is basically we have to check that particular component's keypath is missing for that shortcut, and that's why it is going for again self healing. Or otherwise we can make the shortcut as non-advertised from advertise. Second, we have to find out which key file is missing and why it is missing. Question number 45. How to disable the shortcut from an application? We have to give disable advertise shortcut is equal to 1 as a property, and we can disable all the shortcut from an application. Question number 46. Can a feature have a key path? No, only files and registries can have key path, nothing else. No component, no features can have key path. Question number 47. An installation of MSI is getting failed with logs. How we can identify that which custom action is not working? Then in that case, we have to check the verbose logging, which is through the L star V, and we have to check if the return value is 3 or not. Then in that particular custom action, it is not working. So return value 3 error code indicates that a Windows installer made an error message has occurred. So something related to the Windows installer message has occurred. That is what return value 3 means. What is MSI driver packages table? The key table involved for a driver installation using DIFX, which is driver installation framework, is the MSI driver package tables. So any application which is installing a driver, we can see the MSI driver package table and will come to know. The MSI driver packages table includes one record for each driver package component in the application. So the MSI driver package table will have the record for each driver package component. Question number 49. How to fix a self-healing loop of an application? So an application which is going for a repetitive self-heal. So how we can fix? We can either pass no repair command from the command line, or we can edit the MSI within a packaging tool to disable the self-repair. Question number 50. How to find out if an installation is per user or per machine? If the all user property is set to 1 in the MSI, we have to see. If it is set to 1, then it is per machine. If it is set to 0, then it is per user. To install an application under admin profile, log off and log in and see whether the application is advertising or not, whether the application is having user related data or not. Then in that case we'll come to know that whether the application is installing per machine or uh, per user. If it is not advertised, if a single user has logged in, if another user has logged into that machine and user is not able to see that application, this means that is per user, that is not per machine. If it is per machine, then if the multiple user is also logging on to that particular machine, all the users should be able to see the shortcut advertise.